4.1 Karen's story.
Hey, Beth. You won't believe what happened in my jewellery shop this morning.
What?
We had a woman in buying a diamond necklace and Jenny, the other assistant, was serving her. And when she was paying for it, this bloke, who I thought was just another customer, but I have to say, I had noticed he was behaving a bit oddly, well, he turned out to be a policeman and arrested her for using counterfeit money.
Whoa, slow down. You've lost me. The woman was a customer?
Yeah, and there were two men in the shop who were actually plainclothes policemen. They'd been following her because she was part of a gang they'd been trailing for weeks. They were all buying stuff with counterfeit money, so they arrested her when she was paying with it.
Wow, that's all a bit dramatic. So was it a really expensive necklace?
It was about $4,000.
And didn't anyone think that was a lot to pay in cash?
Well, it's not that unusual in a jeweller's. And the police said the fake money was really convincing, so we probably wouldn't have spotted it.
So what's happened to the woman?
They've taken her down to the police station. They said they'd be back in a couple of hours to get full statements and bring the necklace back. They had to take that as evidence.
Gosh, I know you shouldn't say it, but it is kind of exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It wouldn't have been exciting if she'd got away with it, though. I'm not sure my manager would have been very understanding if he'd found out we'd been taken in.
4.2 Karen's update.
Oh, Beth, I'm so upset.
What's wrong?
You know I said those policemen were coming back to the shop with the necklace?
Yeah?
Well, they never did. It turns out the whole thing was a scam.
What? I don't understand.
They weren't really policemen. They were all part of a gang. The two men and the woman.
So, what, No, I don't understand. They took their own counterfeit money?
The money wasn't the point. They wanted the necklace. And I told you, they said they had to take it as evidence.
Oh, I get it. Oh, that's awful. And clever. I guess you were so grateful when they told you they were policemen and what they were doing, you were hardly going to question them. Did you not ask for their ID, though?
We didn't need to. They held it up when they arrested the woman, but they must have been fake police badges. They can't have been difficult for them to make if they were forgers. Though, apparently, they hadn't forged the money. It was real.
Oh, no. And you weren't suspicious when they said they had to take the necklace with them?
Well, no. I guess Jenny and I were a bit, in shock, really. I am kicking myself about that now, though. I mean, why would they have needed to take it away as evidence?
Oh, don't beat yourself up about it. I'd have fallen for it, I know. So, what now? The real police are looking for all three of them, I suppose.
Yeah, and they're trying to get statements from any eyewitnesses. We've got some security camera footage, but apparently one of the cameras wasn't working properly. Oh, what a horrible, horrible day.
.3 Professor Loftus's work on eyewitness evidence.
Professor Loftus's work on eyewitness evidence. Up until the 1970s, courts would often convict people of serious crimes purely on the basis of eyewitness evidence. Defense lawyers would try to argue that a witness might be mistaken on some of the details in their statement. But if the witness wouldn't accept this, the jury would usually believe them and assume the suspect was guilty. Then, psychology professor Elizabeth Loftus began her work on the unreliability of memory and witness accounts. It showed that we shouldn't think of memory as an accurate and permanent record that we play back repeatedly. We will often change our memories by filling in new details about what must have happened. even though we didn't actually notice those details at the time. Professor Loftus was also able to show how much the memories of eyewitnesses can be influenced by the questions they are asked. For example, what colour hat was the man wearing? Encourages a witness to remember that the man was wearing a hat, when in fact he wasn't. These are known as leading questions, because they lead people to remember events in a certain way. Even the choice of words used in questions can be critical. Witnesses who are asked what speed two cars were going when they smashed into each other all gave higher speeds than those who were asked the speed when the cars hit each other. Professor Loftus's work has led to restrictions on the use of eyewitness evidence. Suspects have the right to ask if they can speak to a lawyer before being interviewed. Police interviewers now have to follow strict guidelines and mustn't ask leading questions. Judges will often remind juries of the unreliability of eyewitness testimonies. However, they are still the leading cause of convictions that are later proven to be wrong.
4.4 Expressions with modals. 1.
It's just a small gift to show how much I appreciate your help.
Oh, thanks. That's very thoughtful of you. But you really shouldn't have.
2.
I could have sworn I left the car here.
Well, I hope you're wrong. Otherwise, someone must have stolen it.
3.
Was Jake's party good?
It was okay. I got all dressed up, but I needn't have bothered. No one else had made an effort.
4.
Jenny will keep going on about my age.
I think she's just worried that you're trying to do too much.
5.
You might want to check your shirt's buttoned up properly.
Oh, no, thanks. Oh, how embarrassing. I got dressed in a rush this morning.
6.
Oh, you can be so insensitive sometimes.
Me? Insensitive? You can talk. You were the one who asked them why they'd paid so much for the house.
7.
Must you whistle all the time?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realise I was doing it.
8.
And who might you be?
I'm the new cleaner. Is it okay to do your office now?
9.
I want to apologise for the way I behaved.
I should think so too. It was appalling what you did.
10.
Derek said the economic crash wasn't at all predictable.
Well, he would say that, wouldn't he? He works for one of the banks that needed bailing out.
4.5 When Arthur Met Harry.
And now the second part of our serialisation of unexpected friendships. Chris Blackwell reads an extract telling of the unlikely friendship of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Harry Houdini.
They seemed an unlikely couple, the 6'1" British doctor and author and the 5'6" poorly educated American immigrant. But when Conan Doyle met Harry Houdini in 1920, they were immediately attracted to each other. Houdini had ambitions to be a writer himself and was eager to mix with the literary elite. He was also intrigued to meet a highly intelligent man who believed in the supernatural. Doyle was convinced that Houdini's amazing talents could offer proof of supernatural powers, and was keen to make use of Houdini's fame and popularity to publicize spiritualism. Conan Doyle talked to Houdini about his own experiences of the supernatural, claiming to have spoken to his dead son on 6 occasions. Houdini showed great interest and was enthusiastic about the possibility of Doyle finding him a true medium, telling him,
"I am very, very anxious to have a séance with any medium with whom you could gain me an audience. I promise to go there with my mind absolutely clear and willing to believe."
But Houdini soon saw that the mediums Doyle introduced him to were simply using tricks to give the impression of communicating with spirits, the same tricks that he used in his own acts. Tactfully, he chose not to offend Doyle by exposing these mediums as fakes, saying on one occasion,
"I am afraid that I cannot say that all their work was accomplished by the spirits."
Doyle was always confused as to why Houdini needed convincing of the supernatural, and asked him,
"My dear chap, why go around the world seeking a demonstration of the occult when you are giving one all the time?"
In 1922, Doyle visited the US to give a lecture tour on life after death. He attracted huge audiences, and there was a sensation when newspaper reports of his New York lectures resulted in a number of suicides. It seemed that readers had found his accounts of the next world all too convincing, and were keen to experience it as soon as possible. Houdini decided to try and show Doyle that supernatural phenomena were not all they seemed, and arranged a private demonstration. Houdini performed an amazing trick in which a message that Doyle had written down in secret was written on a slate by a ball soaked in ink. No one was touching the ball. It seemed to be moved by an invisible hand as it wrote the words. Doyle was speechless. Houdini then told him that it had all been done by trickery, and said,
"I beg of you, Sir Arthur, do not jump to the conclusion that certain things you see are necessarily supernatural, or the work of spirits, just because you cannot explain them."
But it was a lost cause. Doyle was convinced that Houdini could only perform such amazing tricks by using psychic abilities, saying,
"It is an outrage against common sense to think otherwise."
He assumed that Houdini had to deny his psychic abilities because he would have been unable to continue as a magician if it was known that he had them. And of course, Houdini couldn't have revealed how he performed his tricks, as it is taboo for any magician to do so. He simply noted with regard to Doyle that,
"I have found that the greater a brain a man has, and the better he is educated, the easier it has been to mystify him."
Doyle was determined to persuade Houdini that not all mediums were fakes, and arranged a séance in which his wife Jean would attempt to contact Houdini's dead mother. Houdini was excited about the possibility, and said,
"With a beating heart, I waited, hoping that I might feel once more the presence of my beloved mother."
Jean went into a trance, and began to write messages to Houdini, saying that it was his mother speaking directly to him, and that she was simply moving Jean's hand to write the words. When the séance was over, Houdini wrote at the bottom of the page, which was filled with messages written in perfect English,
"My sainted mother could not write English, and spoke broken English."
She had always communicated with her son in German. Houdini never thought the Doyles were trying to deceive him, but were simply deluding themselves. However, when Doyle went on to write newspaper articles about the messages that Houdini had received from his mother, it was the final straw. He went public himself about how the whole thing had been a sham, saying,
"It is a pity that a man should, in his old age, do such really stupid things."
And so their unusual friendship came to an end. Houdini dedicated himself to exposing mediums as fakes, while Doyle insisted that Houdini was using his special powers to prevent the mediums performing properly. Doyle was clearly upset, and wrote to Houdini,
"As long as you attack what I know to be true, I have no alternative but to attack you in return."
The two men never met again. After Houdini's death, his wife wrote to Doyle, insisting that Houdini had not actually held any ill feelings towards him. She said,
"He was deeply hurt whenever any journalistic arguments arose between you, and would have been the happiest man in the world had he been able to agree with your views on spiritualism. He admired and respected you."
Doyle referred to Houdini as
"the most curious and intriguing character whom I have ever encountered.
4.6 Collocations 1.
I don't think she left him just because he forgot their anniversary.
No, but I think it might have been the final straw.
2.
Dan got back from travelling round Asia 2 months ago, and I think he's already thinking about another trip.
Yeah, he seems to have itchy feet again.
3.
I avoid using my credit card when I'm shopping for clothes. It's difficult to stop once I've started.
Yes, it is a slippery slope.
4.
Is Sue not sure anymore about applying for that job?
No, she's having second thoughts about it.
5.
I can't believe she's going to a faith healer to try and get rid of her headaches. I guess she's tried so many other things.
I think it was a last resort.
6.
I noticed you changed the subject when David started talking to Jane about house prices.
Yes, it's a sore point for her at the moment.
7.
So you don't think it's worth me spending any more money trying to get this car back on the road?
No, I think it's a lost cause.
8.
It's not fair. My sister got to go to New York for her birthday, and I just had a day in London.
Yes, it sounds like you got a raw deal there.
9.
Do you think Suzanne really has a chance of getting into the Royal College of Music? She only started the piano 3 years ago.
No, it's just wishful thinking.
10.
I can never understand the rules about which future tense to use.
To be honest, not many people can. It really is a grey area.
4.7 The Unbelievable Truth.
Your subject, Graham, is doctors, persons trained and qualified to diagnose and treat medical problems. Off you go, Graham.
In 2009, a group of doctors opened a restaurant in Latvia called Hospitalis. The dining room looked like an operating theatre. The food came on hospital trolleys with drinks in specimen beakers. On request, you could be fed your meal by waitresses dressed as nurses while you wore a straitjacket.
Henning.
Yeah, I believe that story.
You're right to believe it, because it's true. It closed because it was failing hygiene tests. But then, as we know, the hygiene requirements of a restaurant are much, much higher than they are for a hospital.
In the 14th century, Henri de Mondeville believed that causing the patient to weep or scream would remove the cause of their illness, which is where clown therapy began.
Jeremy.
I think the first bit of that is true.
He believed that causing patients to weep or scream was a good idea.
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
Okay.
No. But no, this chap, Henri de Mondeville, he was one of the first surgeons to stress the need for a good bedside manner, so very much the opposite of making people weep and scream. He recommended that surgeons should keep each male patient cheery with false letters about the deaths of his enemies, or, if he is a spiritual man, by telling him he has been made a bishop. That's it. That's a way of cheering someone up. Some bad medical news. In other news, you have been made a bishop, so... Graham.
When doctors in Brazil went on strike in 1973, the number of daily deaths dropped by a third.
Henning.
That sounds unfortunately entirely plausible.
It is true, yes. It's believed a factor in the reduced death rate could be the reduction in elective non-emergency surgery caused by the strike. Or, they're doing more harm than good.
Back in the 1860s, one American doctor devised an ingenious way of getting rid of awkward patients. He invented the hand grenade. Doctors...
Victoria.
I'm going to guess that the person that invented the hand grenade was a doctor.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, I'm so bad at this.
No, well, you're
you
not...
You told me that Henning always lost and this will be an easy one.
No, the hand grenade wasn't devised by a doctor, but the machine gun was invented by a doctor, Dr. Richard J. Gatling.
Doctors have always been applauded for the elegance and clarity of their handwriting. In a rare exception to the rule, the doctor who recorded the birth of Hollywood hunk Clark Gable was not a master of penmanship. As a result, Clark Gable's birth certificate listed him as female, and his name was deciphered as Joan Crawford.
4.8. Ted and Margaret.
That one's incredible, isn't it, Margaret? She looks so real.
Yes, I was wondering if it might be possible to take a photo of it. Do you think it would be all right?
You might want to ask that attendant first.
Oh, I thought he was one of the exhibits. Excuse me, could I possibly take a photo of that statue?
Oh, we don't allow flash photography.
I thought I might take it without flash. Would that be okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. Ted, you couldn't take one of me next to it, could you?
Yes, of course. Just move a bit to the left, would you?
.9. Ways of being polite.
Excuse me, is there any chance I could have a look at your iPad? I was thinking I might buy one of those.
Yes, of course. I'm really happy with it.
Thank you. Do you think I could have a go at typing on it? I was wondering if the keyboard would be big enough for my fingers.
Sure, go ahead. My fingers are quite big and I don't have a problem typing on it.
It's nice. Would you mind telling me how much you paid for it?
£340. You might want to have a look in PC World. They've got a sale on at the moment.
Thanks very much. I think I might do that.
.10. How polite are these?
Would you mind not putting your feet on the table? Do you think you could stop interrupting me?
Do me a favour and go, now.
Do you mind? That's my seat.
4.11. What are the situations? 1.
Excuse me, would you mind speaking more quietly? Excuse me, would you mind speaking more quietly?
2.
Perhaps you'd like to explain this. Perhaps you'd like to explain this?
3.
I'm afraid this isn't good enough. I'm afraid this isn't good enough.
4.
Close the door, will you? Close the door, will you?
5.
Could you possibly move your car? Could you possibly move your car?
6.
Would you mind not making that noise? Would you mind not making that noise?
4.12. Writing. An apology.
Hi, Peter.
Hey, Martin. Good news. I've finally done it. I popped the question.
You asked Karen to marry you. You said you were going to do it this year, and the answer was obviously a big yes.
Yep. So your stint as best man is coming quite soon.
When's the wedding then?
October the 18th.
Gosh, that's soon. Oh, Hang on. That could be a problem. Let me check. Yeah. Sorry, Peter. I can't do that Saturday.
No!
Yes, really. I've got an annual international conference in London that weekend, and I'm booked to give a presentation. Oh, you can't have arranged anything yet. Couldn't you shift the wedding to another weekend in October?
No. We spent ages finding a weekend that worked for both our families to come over. And that really was the only one before the end of the year. Couldn't you ask them to move your presentation to the Sunday?
Not really. It's booked, and it's all in the programmes they've sent out.
They could change that, though. It wouldn't be such a big deal for them.
I can hardly ask them to do that because I want to go to a wedding, though, can I?
Well, think of something else to tell them and ask very, very nicely. Come on. I can hardly get married without you as my best man.
Oh, I don't know.